Assalamu alaikum and welcome to KFtalks, where we aim to represent Muslim sisters from varying communities. We will delve into their struggles and aspirations in the Western world and how they serve Lady Fatima, peace be upon her, in all they do. This podcast aims to provide a safe platform for us to delve into and voice our thoughts on issues that may not usually be readily and openly discussed in our communities. My name is Kawthar Hakimy and I am your host today. Motherhood is a rewarding but extremely sacrificial experience. With me is Sister Sakina, who will share with us some of the things she went through in her journey of motherhood. How are you today, Sakina?
Assalamu alaikum. I'm good, thank you. Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm doing well. So tell us a little bit about when you first started experiencing this whole situation with motherhood and trying and all these things.
Yeah, so I have a 3-year-old, well, not really, 2.5-year-old daughter. So about,
MashaAllah.
3 years ago, I got pregnant, and that was just over a year into our marriage. And Alhamdulillah, it was a really good experience. The pregnancy was really smooth. I didn't have any symptoms, vomiting or anything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that was that.
So it was a pretty easy pregnancy, some would say.
Yes, compared to some, it was really easy, and I feel like that's but that kind of made it difficult because people thought it was too easy.
Yeah, like they were
Yeah,
judging you for having an easy pregnancy.
yeah, because like, oh, yours doesn't count because it's too
You're not,
easy.
yeah,
You didn't have any symptoms. So, like, yeah, I didn't have any vomiting, but I still, my body's still changing, my hormones all over the place. I still
yeah,
had all of those, just
yeah,
not vomiting and cravings and stuff.
yeah. And then, so your pregnancy was easy, your labor and delivery, how was that?
Alhamdulillah, it was, I would even say it was good.
Yeah,
Compared to other people because it was really short, and I think I got that from genes. Like my mom's always had
yeah,
really easy labors, so
yeah.
yeah, alhamdulillah, that was really good.
Alhamdulillah. And what happened after that? Because I know you started struggling with,
Yeah, so the struggles were mainly breastfeeding because my daughter wouldn't latch, and
yeah,
I had no idea what latching even was, because I feel
yeah,
like in the UK there's not much education around breastfeeding. They expect you to and they encourage it, but they don't teach you about it. And
yeah,
there's no lactation consultants you can see. It was, yeah, it was like they kept me in for one night because Eva wouldn't latch on, and I was like, okay, so what can I do? Like, what's going on? Why isn't she latching? And there weren't really many answers. They were just like, oh, just keep trying.
yeah.
But like Eva just fully refused to, and then that just led on to, a whole series of things from everyone else.
Yeah, I mean that's quite strange that nurses and doctors aren't trained in, because it's quite a common problem. Not a lot of people, like a lot of people do go through this. They can't get their baby to latch and some breastfeeding issues. So it's very strange that in this country that they don't have more like lactation specialists, people
Yeah.
to help you after you've given birth to make sure that the baby can latch.
Yeah, I think you can only get that kind of support if you're going private. On the NHS, I didn't have any like lactation support at all. The only thing
Mm,
was like the midwife would show me how to hold the baby and stuff. But that was
mm.
it. That was it. Like there was nothing more than that.
So that's it. That's your option. Either the baby naturally latches, or
Yeah,
you have to find
yeah.
another
And obviously we don't have like
alternative.
wet nurses and stuff like that anymore.
Yeah,
So you really don't have anyone else really.
yeah. That's really a shame. But you managed to feed your child with formula.
Yeah, I started formula the same
Yeah.
night in the hospital because
Okay.
she just wouldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
She's
خطية,
obviously
yeah.
hungry, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. And like, how did that affect you after your birth?
I think initially I was okay. I didn't think it was that bad, and then I started getting comments from everyone, and then I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh no, like I'm supposed to be feeling guilty." And then I started like judging myself. I was like, well,
Yeah.
maybe, it's my body failing my child. Like, I felt like a bad mother when initially I didn't. It's only after I started getting comments from everyone that, oh, you should really breastfeed your child. Not why can't you or why aren't you? It was more like,
Yeah.
you should breastfeed your child. I was like, yeah, but I
Yeah.
tried. She's not latching. She's like, no, no, no. 2 months down the line, they're still like, no, no, no. Keep trying to breastfeed. You lose weight a lot faster. You'll the baby will be healthier. Like she won't. Um, she's lacking in a lot of nutrients. But I was like, formula is designed to feed babies as well. At
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
I was
Exactly.
expressing for about 6 weeks, but because expressing, I feel like we don't talk we it's looked at something very different to breastfeeding, and you can't
Mm.
talk about it. So if guests came around, if I was breastfeeding a baby, I could just take her upstairs and like, oh, I'm just gonna go feed her. But if I was
Yeah.
expressing, I feel like that's becomes a really awkward conversation
Yeah.
because no
Yeah.
one knows what it is, like especially in the older generation, they don't understand the idea of it. So if I say, oh, I'm just gonna go express, they it gets really like, oh, like what? And then that just gets really awkward. So that's what,
Yeah.
like, I couldn't keep up the schedule of expressing, so then I gave up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really as in it's sad that the comments people, well, women get after giving birth are not as
Yeah,
supportive as they are judgmental.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, so you mentioned also that what do you call it? Sorry. So you also mentioned about weight loss. People were commenting to you about losing weight straight after you've
Yeah,
given birth.
straight after, like within a
Wow.
week. Within a week, people like, oh, you should really breastfeed. You will lose weight a lot faster. And I was like, that's like the least of my priorities right now. And
Yeah, you should
you know,
breastfeed your child so that you can lose weight, not so you can feed your child.
exactly. It's like that's like
Where
I'm
are
not
the
even thinking about
priorities?
it. And I feel like to one point the comment side affected me so much. 3 weeks after, I went to the gym
Oh
because,
my God.
yeah, 3 weeks. I look back at it and I'm like, what was I thinking? Like
Oh,
2 years and I still don't feel recovered.
oh
What was
my
I
God.
thinking 3 weeks down the line? I was
Yeah,
like, yeah, I'm gonna go to a gym, lose this baby weight, because everyone kept commenting like,
so
oh,
insensitive.
you didn't gain weight during pregnancy, but after having a baby, you just puffed up. Like
Oh my
that's what
God.
happens. Like the fourth trimester, like after having the trimester after having your baby, that's when you mainly gain a lot of weight.
Yeah,
So everyone's solution to that was breastfeed, and I
yeah,
obviously couldn't, so I started going gym. Literally 2 days in, I was like, okay, I literally I can't, not right now, not
yeah,
yet.
yeah. No, that's crazy. It's like, sorry, I was gonna say a point and I forgot. Yeah, it's like, so like after giving birth and during pregnancy as well, your body is already changing so much, and you yourself is like you're already trying to come to terms with how much your body is changing, and uh your hormones and
Yeah,
the stretch marks and everything. And then on top of it, you've got people telling you and judging you as well. Like it's not enough that you're judging yourself and having
yeah,
to go through this yourself, but other people are also, instead of giving you supportive comments like, you know, mashallah, you're, look how powerful your body is,
yeah,
you've had a baby and it's, you know, it's incredible. No, oh, you know, you should breastfeed because you
yeah.
know, it'll help you lose weight.
Yeah, like however much my weight gain is affecting your life, it's affecting mine more.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
it's
gosh.
crazy. Like people think that you don't know you've put weight on, and they love to remind you.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, oh, like look at this picture of you from 2 years ago. It's
Oh
like
no.
I know I have them too. I don't need a picture to remind me.
No, it's like, I'm sorry, but this picture was before I brought a child into this world.
Exactly.
I've changed. I'm a mother now. Like, can you show some respect for that? Because
Yeah,
it's crazy. Like, the things a woman goes through.
yeah,
eh, Honestly, like weight loss and weight gain should be the least of your concerns, unless it's affecting your health directly.
yeah,
It shouldn't be an issue at all. I mean, this is what our bodies are built for. If
Yeah,
anything, it just makes our bodies more comfortable for our babies to sit on.
exactly.
It's like
It's
I'm
more
feeding my
cuddly.
baby, like I'm holding my baby all this time. Like
Yeah,
maybe they could do with some cushioning.
yeah. That's true.
Yeah, and it's just funny to see how different the culture and Islam is.
Yeah, yeah,
Because when it comes to, if you look at Islamic teachings and how the women of, the Ahlul Bayt and everything, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam, she had a servant to help her around the house. The Prophet himself was fed by a wet nurse. Like his mother
exactly.
also had trouble with latching and
Yeah,
everything. So, but these things are not mentioned. It's just like,
yeah,
instead of mentioning these stories to a woman after she's given birth to sort of comfort her, because after birth you have all these different hormones, and it's a
yeah,
roller coaster of emotions, and then on top of it they put all these judgmental comments. It's just really difficult to deal with.
yeah,
And then you wonder why so many women go through postnatal depression
yeah, definitely.
and
And
have all these difficulties.
yeah, I feel like postpartum depression is another thing that's just not talked about at all.
Yeah,
Um, it's you don't see it in the lectures, you don't see it in workshops, anywhere. You just don't talk about it, like it doesn't exist. But it's such an important part of pregnancy. And I feel like I feel like we're made to feel ashamed if we have to accept that we had postpartum depression,
yeah,
when we shouldn't. It's normal to have it, and it's okay to get help.
yeah, of
But
course.
I think just we're just made to feel like, no, we can't have help raising our kids.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you have to
we're
do
supposed to
everything
do
yourself.
everything yourself
Yeah, which is
to the
so
yeah,
un-Islamic.
so un-Islamic.
So un-Islamic, honestly. Like
Yeah,
it baffles me, like where we've reached.
yeah. And even
Honestly.
if you did have help from a servant or someone like that, it'd be like, oh, she just leaves her kids to her servants, or she just leaves her kids at the grandparents, like she didn't even raise
Yeah,
them herself. But back in the
yeah,
day, it used to take a village to raise a child. I feel like
yeah,
that phrase has really lost its meaning.
yeah. Like it really does take a village to raise a child, and people still use that phrase,
Yeah,
but they don't use it in a practical way. Like they don't
no,
think, okay, well, this phrase is actually true, and if it takes a village to raise a child, we need to be supporting
yeah,
the new mothers in our community.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Or you see, even if they don't see it to your face, I've heard, like, you can overhear people like, oh, look at her, she's gained so much weight after the pregnancy.
yeah,
It's like, that's that's literally part of pregnancy. And I think the worst thing is when they compare
yeah,
two
yeah,
mothers who don't compare each other, but
yeah.
people will compare them. Oh, look at her body, like, she had a baby but she's lost it all, and look at her, she hasn't lost it in 2 years.
Yeah, like how dare you not lose your weight after
Yeah,
after going through pregnancy
yeah,
and
and
labor
everybody's
and
so different.
delivery and having to look after your child. It's just like, yeah, everybody's body is different, and like we're all built differently. It's just
Yep,
like, why are you comparing two people?
yep.
Yeah. Um, So how did you cope with all this? Because this is really difficult. Like it's not easy to go through all of this by yourself. Did you have any coping mechanisms, or did anyone in the community help you?
um I think my immediate family was quite supportive, so I think that helped. So my in-laws and my parents and my husband. And I
Yeah,
think having a supportive group of friends. So I
yeah,
didn't have a group, like a WhatsApp group when I was pregnant, but when one of my friends was going through postpartum depression, I made a WhatsApp group of
yeah.
it's actually called Non-Judgmental Moms. um
Oh,
yeah, and there's like just new young mums, and we're just there to support each other. And I feel like that's really, really helped with other girls I knew were struggling. Whereas I feel like if I
definitely.
had that when I was pregnant or after birth, it would have really helped having
Yeah,
something like that, because there
definitely.
you have so many questions that you want to ask, and not Google. But
Yeah,
I feel like if you ask someone else, they're gonna think, or you're a mom, you're supposed to know this.
Yeah. It's like automatically, as soon as you become pregnant, you become
Yeah,
endowed with this wealth of
yeah,
knowledge of how to take care of a baby.
exactly.
And it's just like, that's not what happens.
Yeah, so you feel really like ashamed, like asking people for help,
Yeah.
or
Like,
questions
what's
that you might
wrong with
ask.
me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like something's happening with the baby, and you're not sure what, like,
Mm,
why is my baby crying at this time? And
mm,
you can't ask anyone in the family or community because you feel like they'll judge you for being a bad mom.
yeah.
Like you don't know why your baby's crying.
Like, that's
Um,
the easiest thing to know. Like, you're the
yeah,
mother. You,
yeah. Um,
honestly.
but I feel like in that WhatsApp group you can save WhatsApp and the moms will help you because you're
Yeah.
all going through the same thing at the same time, or
Yeah.
like you're
Especially that you're
having.
like, you're all young moms, you're all from the same
Yeah,
sort of generation.
yeah,
You sort of like, it's easier to relate to them.
yeah. Like just the
Yeah.
other day, one of the girls were like, "Oh, my baby's really sick, and I'm really struggling, I'm exhausted." And literally 5, 6 other girls were like, "Yeah, same, me too."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it makes you feel so much better. Like, okay, you're not the only one who's going through this. You're not the
It
only
really
one who
does.
wants a break from their child.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because otherwise you just feel like all these other moms are doing so well. Like, I see them taking
Yeah,
their babies for a walk and they look like they're doing it,
yeah,
they've got this. But why am I falling apart? Like, why this isn't
yeah,
is there something wrong with me? Am I a bad mom?
yeah.
Like,
Like in
it really makes you
social
question
media,
yourself.
social.
What about like any self-care? Like, how do you take care of yourself? Do you take a day off sometimes, or like,
Um,
are you completely overwhelmed? Because with
I
like,
think,
especially with
yeah,
women, we have this mum guilt or this feminine guilt that
yeah,
everything is our responsibility and it's our duty to take care of
yeah,
everyone and everything, and we just sort of end up forgetting about ourselves.
yeah. Um, I initially I didn't. Initially, I was really, really overwhelmed. Um, with just taking care of Eva and just not paying any attention to myself. But recently, I spoke to a psychiatrist, and
Mm,
yeah, that really, really helped me more than I thought it would. I thought I was just calling him regarding my anxiety and stuff, but it helped me so much. And one of the things he recommended was that I take at least one day or half a day at least a week to myself, just to do
yeah,
something I enjoy, whether that's shopping or reading a book, just anything that I enjoy doing for myself, like without Eva, without my husband, just me. Because he
yeah.
said that's so, so important. And I did try that for a few weeks before I started working, and it did help. I feel like you're a better mother after it because
Mm,
you've had time to yourself. Now you can pay attention to your child. Like I read
yeah,
this quote the other day: "You can't pour from an empty cup."
yeah, yeah, that's so
Self love
true.
is self care is so, so important. If you don't
Yeah,
love yourself, you don't care for yourself, you're gonna struggle to care for the baby.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's just like it all builds up inside you, and you really need a release. It's not
Yeah,
normal not to have a release, to even if it's just like a half an hour walk just by
yeah,
yourself.
definitely.
Yeah, it helps you to recalibrate yourself a little bit, just to like
Yeah,
have that breath of fresh air, so that you
yeah,
can go back and be yourself again.
yeah, definitely. It definitely helps you keep sane. Otherwise,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Do you have any like advice to other people? Any like, both for young moms and also to people who are, giving us all this, unnecessary comments, unnecessary questions. What would you say
Um,
to them? Like, what would
for
help?
Yeah, for people who are giving us unnecessary advice, um, I would say be make dua rather than just, being invested in someone's life and being nosy. Just do dua for them. You don't need to ask them if they're trying to have a baby, or if a girl's pregnant, or when she's having a baby, or when she's having a second baby. You don't need to know.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's none of your, but it doesn't add or take away anything from your life. And you never know what
exactly.
that person is going through. They could be
Exactly.
trying. They could have had miscarriages. I know
Yeah.
you mentioned I know, Sakina, I think maybe you as well, like if you've experienced miscarriages, it's painful. You don't know, like
Yeah.
it's not something that's spoken about in the community.
Yes, I had two miscarriages very
Yeah,
recently, in April and May of this year, and
yeah,
because it's been like Eva's 2 years old now, and even while I was going through miscarriages, because people didn't know, they were still asking me if when I'm having the second baby.
yeah, that must be painful.
Yeah, that was I think that was harder than the miscarriage itself, um
Yeah,
because you can't. I didn't feel I could tell them,
yeah, yeah,
but now I feel like yeah, I feel like it needs to be spoken about. The miscarriages need to be talked about. It like I was like I just thought I would never have a miscarriage. I don't know why I thought that, but you feel it's not gonna
you don't
happen to
imagine
you.
it. Yeah, you don't, it's
Yeah.
not something you expect to happen to you.
Yeah, I think that's why it was really hard like the first time. And I couldn't tell anyone like other than family, and I feel like just talking about it helps. I feel like even if you talk about it on social media, it helps you. It's like a
Yeah,
therapy, it's like a release,
yeah, it's catharsis.
and it helps other people as well, because they might be going through the same thing, but they don't know who to
Exactly.
speak to either.
Yeah, I know with miscarriage, a lot of women end up feeling like there's something wrong with them, or it was their fault they lost
Yeah,
the baby, or so it can have a huge strain on your mental health.
yeah, and
And
then
it's so
constantly you
important
get
not to be
questioned.
alone.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's so important not to be alone in your thoughts at that time. But at the same time, miscarriage is still like a bit of a taboo subject, or a subject that's not spoken about at all, and people
yeah,
don't know how to deal with it. So it's
yeah,
just like it gets sort of like brushed under the rug. No one talks about it. It's just
yeah.
pushed away.
And I
And
feel
that's
like,
like,
very good.
it's hard. No, I'm just gonna like it's just it's difficult for a person who's
Yeah.
going through that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And I feel like especially if you have miscarriages before you have a child, like your
yeah,
first baby, I feel like for those women it'd be a lot harder,
yeah,
because then if they speak about it, people start talking like, oh, maybe she can't have a child. With
yeah. There's
me, I feel
something
like it
wrong with
wasn't
her.
it wasn't as bad as other people because I have Eva. So
Yeah,
even though, infertility can still happen after having a child, but I feel like people don't think about it as much if you've had a child. Whereas if
yeah, yeah,
if you haven't if you don't have a baby, and then it's the people in the community start getting concerned, even though it really doesn't affect them.
yeah. But as in like a same thing. Like if they start talking about it and it becomes the new hot topic of the day,
Yeah,
it's really quite disheartening to see that, when instead they should honestly, if you're that invested in someone's life, do dua, like you said.
yeah. Like
It's
that's
the
the
best
best you
thing
can do
for
for
them.
them.
Instead of being nosy and asking questions and making them feel uncomfortable, just make
Yeah,
dua for them. You never know what they're going through.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So you're mentioning the advice to others before we took a
Oh
little
yeah,
detour.
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. So and if you genuinely want to ask, I feel like it's about intention and how you say things as well. If you want to
definitely.
know why a mother isn't breastfeeding, just ask her why you're not breastfeeding, just in a nice
Yeah,
way. Or like if you could help, like if you've had babies, you could probably help, you could probably have some advice.
yeah,
But don't say things like you should be breastfeeding your child so you can we can lose weight faster.
yeah,
That's
yeah. That's
so
really
negative.
insensitive.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. But like
Whereas just
even
asking someone is fine. Like if someone asked me why you're not breastfeeding, I'd be okay with it,
mm,
depending on what came after that, rather than you
yeah,
should
just like, oh,
breastfeed
how
though.
come? And
Yeah,
also it depends on how close you are to that person.
yeah. Like if I
You
don't
can't
know
just
you, if
get
I don't
random
speak to you
aunties
at
in the
all,
community.
yeah. Like if
Just
you're like a majorist and then they're like, "Oh, you're not breastfeeding your child? You
yeah,
should
I
really
heard from
breastfeed."
so and so. I heard from so and
Yeah, I'm just
so who
like,
was told by so and so that you're
yeah,
not breastfeeding. How come? It's like, sorry,
yeah,
auntie. Do I know you?
yeah. And how does it affect you? Please remind me. Um,
Yeah,
and maybe we should
yeah,
ask them, like, did you breastfeed your kids? How did they turn
yeah,
out?
yeah, yeah,
And for
man.
the young mums, I would say, I know it's easier said than done, but don't listen to them. Like, in one ear out the other, and speak to someone. Like, speak to whoever you can, your friends, your family, your husband, strangers, social media. Just speak to someone about if you're having any issues at all.
Yeah.
Or if you and a group of friends, make a WhatsApp group, make any group where you can find a release.
Yeah, honestly, that WhatsApp group that you mentioned, that's so helpful. Like, it's just, even if it's just like a comment that you're just saying, "Oh,
Yeah,
today I just feel so overwhelmed," and another person
yeah,
says, "Oh my God, me too."
yeah,
That does so much. Like, it's so
yeah,
small, but it really does have an effect.
yeah.
How do you think we can like raise awareness in the community about this issue?
I feel like it's not talked about in, like pulpits and just like
Yeah,
lectures, and because it's so our community is so male led, you don't hear about women issues as much.
yeah,
Whereas they should just speak about it. And I mean, like, things like this podcast and social media awareness, we need to normalize having conversations about postpartum depression, miscarriages, um you know infant deaths and stuff. We should talk about these things, and
yeah.
that's
We
the best we
should.
can do. Because someone might be listening to the podcast, and they hear some of the comments I mentioned about breastfeeding, and they might be like, oh wait, I've said that to someone. Next
Mm,
time they say it,
yeah.
they'll, hopefully,
They'll think
inshallah, they'll
twice.
refrain. Yeah,
Hopefully, yeah.
hopefully.
Because sometimes we don't realize the power of our words and the consequences
Yeah,
of our words. Like,
yeah,
we might be so thinking, saying something so absently, without realizing the effect that it can have on the person that we're saying it to.
yeah,
Especially with like a new mom.
yeah,
She's already going through this emotional roller coaster.
yeah,
You might be saying something like with a sort of good intention, or you're just curious, but it could have a huge effect on her because
yeah,
she's not in the same state of mind as you are, and she's
yeah,
got like sleep deprivation, and she's barely
yeah,
feeding herself, and she's got another human being that she's responsible for.
yeah.
So it's a lot to take on. We need to be a lot more sensitive with new
Yeah.
moms.
Like, if someone said, the comments that were made initially to me, someone said those to me now, it probably wouldn't affect me as much. But because
Yeah,
I just had a baby, my hormones are all over the place. Every little
yeah,
little thing, you take it to heart, and you
yeah.
overthink it until, you start doubting yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And it has an effect on how you raise your child as well. Like,
Yeah.
if people are constantly telling you, "Oh, you should be breastfeeding. If you don't breastfeed, you're a bad mom. If you do
Yeah.
this, you're a bad mom. If you're taking care of yourself, you're a bad mom. If you're,
Yeah.
all these judgments, it eventually it can you can end up believing it, and you'll
Yeah,
start
'cause
thinking
that's that.
you're actually a
Yeah.
bad mom,
Yeah, that's what
and it
happened
can
to
affect the
me.
way you raise your child.
Yeah, because everyone kept saying, "Oh, if you don't breastfeed, you're not gonna have like a strong bond with the baby."
Mm,
And I started actually believing that, because, oh my God, maybe I'm not breastfeeding her. That's why if sometimes she cries, I don't feel like guilt. But
yeah.
really, it's just that you're tired and you just want the baby to shut up and sleep. But you feel like, oh my God, I'm such a bad mom for thinking
Yeah.
and feeling that. But it's normal, you're exhausted. It's
Yeah,
okay to feel that way.
you're a human being. Like,
Yeah.
you're not a machine.
And like,
You're
something
gonna
didn't
get
happen
tired.
overnight where, you don't have feelings and emotions, and, you know, you don't get tired all of a sudden. You're
Yeah,
still the same
exactly.
human. You just have another human to look after.
Exactly, which is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you so much for this incredible discussion. It was so enlightening, and so many important points were raised about different comments that you get, pregnancy, and the judgments, and the postpartum depression, miscarriage, breastfeeding. All of these things
Yeah.
are so important, to discuss and to talk about more, to make them, to even just to like support young moms in the community, and people who are trying, or people who are having struggles, or it's so important to be supportive to our sisters, inshallah.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Sakina,
Thank you for having
and
me. This is really good.
enlightening us with your experiences. It's been amazing to learn from you,
Just hope it helps someone, that if they're struggling,
inshallah.
or if they're the person making those comments, inshallah, it helps
Yeah.
them.
Inshallah, we'll also share some organizations that might help to direct you in the right
Yes,
place if you
definitely.
are going through something like this, if you are having any struggles um, with a pregnancy or just any mental health issues as well. Please refer to the links that we are going to post, inshallah. And yes, it was lovely speaking to you, Sakina. Thank you for joining us.
You too. Thank you so much.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for listening in. Tune in to next week's episode on deception in marriage with Sister Aya Ali.